But Mr. Ruyter, in your interview, you said there was one particular high-level politician involved in this allegation, and you informed the minister. But the minister looked at the senior official and said, I guess it was inevitable that it will come out anyway, suggesting that this wasn't new. Now, it is clear that you were referring to issues of corruption. And when this minister responded in the manner in which he responded, you said it was clear that this wasn't new to the minister. And these are issues related to corruption. And I think the committee and South Africans deserve to know who are these ministers who have taken oath to protect the resources of the country, who have uttered these words to you. I don't think disclosing the identity of that particular minister will jeopardize any case, because it was said in front of another official. And my next question would be, who was the official involved? Because I take it that those two characters, the minister and the official, are still continuing as business as usual and are still executing the role and responsibility entrusted upon them. And who knows, they might be continuing allowing or enabling an environment where corruption must prevail. So ours here is to pursue a path that will lead us to rooting out corruption at ESCOM. Hence, I'm pleading with you to share with us the name of that particular minister.
Thank you, Honorable Gedebe, and again through you, Chair. I disclosed all of the findings and the issues that I uncovered with my shareholder representative, Minister Gordhan. And as I say in my statement, I also shared these same allegations and concerns with the National Security Advisor, Dr. Sydney Mufumadi. What they did with that information, I'm not aware, although there has subsequently been progress made, and in fact,
my apology, and I'm sorry to interject. I'm referring to your interview, and my question is direct. The minister that looked at the official in the eye and said, I guess it was inevitable that it will come out anyway. When you said there was one high-level politician involved in this allegation, who is that minister? Are you saying the executive authority, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, is the minister you're referring to? I'm asking a specific and direct question based on your interview.
All right, if you can please give me a moment that I can just consult my documents that I have in front of me, as well as my advice. At this point in time, Honorable Gedebe, I don't think that it is in the interests of the oversight role of SCOPA and the nature of the engagement that I disclose this today. I don't think it is a critical element that is important, and I therefore propose that we move on, and that I do not disclose the identity of this minister, because I don't think that it is required for us to enhance, as the Honourable Chairman said, the sole purpose is to look at the potential misuse of public funds, and therefore I would not want to elaborate on that at this point in time. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, is allowing politicians to continue misusing public funds not a concern or fall within the mandate of this committee for us to be able to follow and root out corruption as it relates to public purse? Can I just get the guidance and please advise if the question posed by myself, it's out in line in terms of the mandate of SCOPA in relation to public purse?
I do think that having a minister involved in these matters in the manner in which it has been framed is in the interest of the committee. So I think the question is well in order, because we have been saddled with the situation of political leadership interference in the affairs of departments and entities. And I think insofar as having a frank discussion, the question that Honorable Hadebe is posing is a fair and correct one. Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Chair. Perhaps just to also amplify my question. At the time you were an accounting officer, and Section 38, subsection 1 of the PFMA requires that as an accounting officer, you must take effective and appropriate steps to prevent losses resulting from criminal conduct. Furthermore, you are also responsible for managing, including safeguarding of the assets of ESCOM. Now, surely, when an executive authority is implicated in allegation of misappropriation of taxpayers' money, it was incumbent upon yourself to act. Hence, I'm asking this question. It is in line with your responsibility at the time to ensure that you prevent losses that are as a result of criminal conduct. And in your interview, you have stated, having reported this matter to a minister, it is in line with our mandate and function as this committee to get to the bottom of this and to understand exactly who is enabling corruption to prevail at ESCOM. And we are going to follow that matter up and refer it to the relevant structures and authorities to deal with. But for us is to investigate as per our mandate. Once we've investigated, the other relevant authorities and law enforcement agencies in the country will take over from us. We're not saying we have powers to conduct what law enforcement agencies are entrusted to do, but we want to get into the bottom of the roots of corruption at ESCOM and to prevent it from happening in the future. My worry is that this high-level official might still continue doing what you have highlighted as something that was not new to them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Hadebe, and thank you, Honourable Chair, for that clarity that you provided on the scope of the engagement today. First of all, to just clarify my role as the former accounting officer for ESCOM and the PFMA obligations that I accepted. I did engage with the South African police at the highest level, with the National Commissioner of Police and a number of other senior officials, generals, brigadiers as well as senior representatives of the SSA. I also shared information about corruption and theft with the NADjoints at the South African Police Services College in Pretoria. And that, I think, gives sufficient credence to the fact that I extensively engaged with the law enforcement authorities to make clear that appropriate steps should be taken. I also took steps to ensure that I could improve internal controls. Should the commission or the committee so wish, I will elaborate on that. In my submission to the committee, I do reflect on, for example, the measures taken to improve supply chain controls, control over coal quality and management and so forth. So I do think that I'm comfortable that appropriate steps were taken in order to ensure that we do have significantly enhanced controls. As is required, I also reported this to my shareholder representative, as I said, Minister Gordhan. He was accompanied by the National Security Advisor to the President, and the main findings were again shared with these two officials. And I think that discharged my duty to report. I may also add, to preempt any potential question in this regard, that I have complied with Section 34 of the Prevention of Organised Crime and Corruption Act, the PRECA Act, by ensuring that I can share with the DPCI the information that is at my disposal, and my legal advisors have made a submission to the Hawks in this regard in full compliance with Section 34 of PRECA. Again, to move back to paragraph 1 of my submission, disclosing the identity of the minister concerned. I think that this is a question which I would see falling within the ambit of potential security risks that could arise from such a disclosure, and I therefore would direct, with respect, the committee to rather engage with the oversight minister, as well as potentially, if the committee deems fit, with Dr. Mufamadi to obtain further information in this regard. Thank you.
If I'm hearing you correctly, did you disclose to Mr. Mufamadi and the executive authority, Mr. Gordhan, the name of the minister you are referring to, for us to be able to make a follow-up on this matter?
I did disclose.
Am I hearing you correctly? Have you disclosed the name of the minister that you are not willing to identify to Mr. Mufamadi and to the executive authority, being Minister Gordhan in this case?
Honorable Khadebe, just to be clear, there is a narrative in the media that there is a minister that I mentioned. I must just avoid any doubt in this regard. I never made any statement to the fact that it is a minister. I said that it was a senior politician. So I don't want to perpetuate any misunderstanding in this regard. I would also think...
Sorry to interject, but I've listened to your interview time and again, and I'm quoting exactly what you have said. You said, the minister looked at the senior official and said, I guess it was inevitable that it would come out anyway, suggesting that this wasn't new. You did make mention of the minister. Hence, my question to you is, did you inform Mr. Signi Mufumadi of the name of that minister that you refer that high-level politician involved in corruption? Did you inform Mr. Signi Mufumadi and Minister Gordhan of the name of that minister? You are referring to us, to both these two individuals for further information. So will these two individuals be privy to the name as reported by your good self?
Yeah, Honorable Hadebe, I cannot obviously talk on behalf of those two gentlemen. That is up to them.
No, but I'm saying, did you mention the name?
I did disclose it to those two, yes.
The name of the minister?
No, no, the name of the senior politician.
So would I be correct that you are also protecting this minister that you have reported this matter to? Are you
I
not
think characterizing...
I'm saying, I would understand and accept when you are saying to us, you're not going to disclose the name of the minister, but some point during your tenure, you did report this minister to the relevant authority. If yes, please refer us which relevant authority you have reported this minister. You have painted a picture of senior ministers involved in corruption or allowing corruption to happen without acting. Now we're saying, please assist us to deal with that particular minister in the manner that is in line with the laws and provision of powers and function incumbent upon any relevant structure within Parliament. Did you at any point mention the name of the minister to the relevant authorities responsible for law enforcement in this country?
I think the Honorable Hadebe, I'm obviously not a lawyer versed in criminal law, but I'm not sure that the statement that was made by the minister concerned, in fact, constituted contravention of law. So I don't think there was a duty on me to disclose or share that with any law enforcement authority. I don't believe that there was a legal duty on it because it doesn't fall within the bounds of any contravention as contemplated by PRECA or by the PFMA. I think that the matter is best resolved, if I may, Honourable Chair, by the committee addressing the question directly to, if you can just allow me to finish, please, to Dr. Mufamadi and Minister Gordhan.
I'm trying to understand, when the minister says to you, in order to pursue greater good, you have to enable some people to eat a little bit. What does that mean to you?
I think what it speaks to, Honourable Hadebe, is a general condemnation or climate where corruption is tolerated, where it is deemed to be, if you will, in the normal course of business, and that is in fact a way of ensuring that business gets done. And I think that speaks to a general approach to crime and criminality where it is tolerated, when I think, if I may presume to characterize my engagements with SCOPA, is that SCOPA has a zero tolerance approach to these matters. And therefore, I was taken aback and surprised when I heard this particular statement.
Just 1 second, Honorable, so you can wrap up and then we will rotate and come back. Mr. Ruyter, I think pointedly is where we need a clarity. You say that you have complied with PRECA and you invoke Minister Gordhan and Mr. Mufamadi. So I think pointedly, Honorable Hatebe's question is, this individual, high-ranking politician, senior politician, minister, did you report that to the minister, Minister Gordhan, and Mr. Mufamadi, and the who? Or did you report that to the law enforcement agencies for the purposes of investigation? This particular senior ranking high official, politician and or minister, because that would form the basis upon which any investigation must proceed. That so and so is this. So I think to sort of just clear the words on this one, or is the name wholly reserved either here or wherever? Because then if that's the case, I don't see any basis upon which investigation could take place, given that you've got 30 ministers and 29 ministers and some 30 odd deputies.
Yeah, I think if I may venture to answer that question, Honourable Chair, the best way forward, I would suggest, is to ask Minister Gordhan and Dr. Mufamadi, because they were informed, they are aware. As you know, I am not in a position where I have immunity, and I therefore am unable to make any statement that could potentially put me at risk of any legal action, whether it be civil or criminal, because of the fact that there is already a highly litigious environment that has arisen around Eskom and my tenure as chief executive at Eskom, and I would be very loath to expose myself to any further legal action, particularly in a public forum such as this hearing. So respectfully, I think to answer those questions, it is more appropriate to direct those to the individuals that I have already mentioned by name.
Chair, I think I feel for you and I take your point, but we can be protected under the powers and privileges of Parliament Act if you are willing to take an oath or affirmation. So we are willing to provide you with that protection you deserve in order for you to be able to engage freely and help this Parliament and South African in general. We are currently faced with stage 6 load shedding, and there's still people there on daily basis who knows what they are doing and continue to earn a salary. So are you willing to be protected by taking an oath or affirmation in order for you to help South African rid Eskom of corrupt element and officials?
Honourable Chair, I stand by my answer. I think just to reiterate, I'm here to assist the committee in endeavouring to improve its oversight. In my previous appearances at SCOPA, I never took an oath. That was not a requirement. And I think under the current circumstances, given the fact that this is not an inquisitorial investigation. It's not a parliamentary investigation. There's no opportunity for me to be subject to cross-examination or to have legal representation who can clarify and elucidate any answers that I might have. So even if I were to enjoy the protection of parliamentary privilege, the concerns that I have in terms of security would still apply, and therefore I would stand by my answer as I've given it, and I again recommend that the committee should address the two individuals concerned and raise their concerns with them, or their questions with them, and hopefully that will then put the committee in a position where they can clarify this matter.
So we are willing to continue and question those that you have mentioned, but I was asking a simple question in order for us to also protect you, and gathering from what you are saying as your response, it appears as if you are not willing to take an oath or affirmation. Will my assumption be correct to say at this point in time, you don't see it fit for you to be protected in terms under the Powers and Privileges Act of Parliament?
Right, let's do this. That should be the last one. We'll rotate, we'll come back. Just, yeah, you've gone. Yeah, but no, we'll come back. We've got time. We'll come back to you. So just.
Can I just ask one last question and then?
All right, okay, close it off.
Chair.
Close it off, it's fine. The last one.
Do you have a deputy chair?
No. Beg it, Kulman.
No, but I don't take kind, Chair, when dealing with serious matters. We have
Honorable
people,
Hadebe, I'm saying.
I really don't take kind of.
Honorable Hadebe, I'm saying to you, ask your question, close it off on that last one, and then you will come back for round two. So if you have a last question, put that last question. And Honorable Van Minen, stand by.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Director, you have said you've also complied with Section 34, subsection 1 of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. So I assume that you have reported such acts of corruption to the relevant police officer. That act also stipulates that the police officer concerned must take down a report and provide a person who made a report with an acknowledgement of a receipt of such a report. Have you in your submission received any acknowledgement of receipt of your report, and are you able to direct us to the relevant police officer involved in you providing information as it relates to Section 34, subsection 1?
Honorable Hadebe, as the Section 34 submission was made to the DPCI by my legal team, I would have to consult my legal team to inquire from them whether they have received a receipt, as you indicated, and what the identity of the police officer is concerned. I don't have that information to hand today as I sit here, so I can unfortunately not give you that the answer to that question. I would have to consult with my legal team because they are the ones who made the submission on my behalf and with my mandate.
But Mr. Director, as an accounting officer, then you should have known the provisions of the Act. And for you to say you have fully complied, you ought to have received acknowledgement of your report having been furnished to the officer. And you should be in a position to know exactly who is the officer involved. And whether you have submitted yourself or through your lawyers ought to have briefed you to say, here is an acknowledgement of receipt, and the information was submitted on this date to this particular officer. Now, for us to be able to pursue these matters, there are still unanswered questions and it defeats the entire exercise. But I take your point when you're saying you'll have to consult. I guess we'll have to then put timeframes to ascertain whether or not indeed Section 34 subsection 1 was fully complied with. I take it that at the time of submitting, you were still an accounting officer at the time. Will I be correct that all these reports were submitted while you were still an accounting officer?
Yeah, I think that distinction is important. As to when was that done, so that it can provide a direction. Because if it was during your tenure as CEO, then ESCOM must also have those records. So I think that clarity is important.
Honourable Chair, there is, as a matter of course, Section 34 reports that are made by ESCOM to the DPCI in compliance with Section 34. And this is because there are many of these incidents, more than 100 cases that are reported, and because the accounting officer has the obligation, that report is therefore made, and Section 34 is complied with. There is a distinct process that is in place to ensure that we keep the DPCI informed. I must just also point out that with regard to the particular information that came to my attention, this was handed by my legal team to the officer in authority, the officer in charge. Again, I would have to confirm who exactly was the person to whom it was handed, and whether or not a receipt was provided. I cannot give you that information right now. I don't know. But generally speaking, Honourable Chair, I think it's important to emphasize that I raised this matter with the highest law enforcement officer in the country, the National Commissioner of Police. And I did so on 2 occasions where I made clear that there were significant activities of crime and corruption taking place at ESCOM, that there were incidents of sabotage that ESCOM was experiencing, and that this played a considerable role. I also cooperated fully with officers that were appointed by the National Commissioner of Police. So from that perspective, substantive compliance took place, and the formal submission, as is required by the regulations to the South African Police Services Act, that was complied with after I had left the employ of ESCOM. But in general, Section 34 was complied with, and substantively, Section 34 was complied with, that by means of my direct communication with senior police officers, including the National Police Commissioner.